It's
Yes.
you got to be okay with failure, and that's the other thing that is a huge topic that I talk about is failure, and the fact that failure is something not only you should avoid, you should actually be thankful when it happens to you because it's the best learning opportunity ever. So I'm not saying go out and seek failure. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying.
No.
Nobody wants to go out and seek failure, but when it does
But
happen,
don't be afraid of it.
don't be
Yes.
afraid of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it, and don't look at it like it's some kind of a sign of weakness. Don't look at it as like some kind of a a scarlet letter that you have to carry around with you. Failure is the best teacher. The best teacher. So the more you fail, the more you're learning, and it doesn't matter how much you fail. It's your mentality and what you end up doing with those failures that matter the most, and that's what's going to propel you to kind of keep moving forwards.
Welcome to the Leadership That Shines podcast, the weekly leadership training show that's built around 3 values that show up in everything we do: impact, influence, and growth. Whether you're leading a team, building a business, or learning to lead yourself first, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Natalie Davis. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership That Shines podcast. I am your host, Natalie Davis, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you today. And we have a very special guest that's joining us, and I'm so excited to dive in and hear his story and really share some insight with all of you. John, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us today.
Thanks so much, Natalie. So much appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, John, what I love about you and your leadership journey is that you've really started with what we call like this 0 to whatever your goal may be, right? You moved to this country and creating a business that's now a multi-billion-dollar business. But before we dive into that journey, I'd love to just give you a few moments to just introduce yourself to our listeners, tell them a little bit about yourself, and then I'd love to just dive in to hear more about some of the success in your leadership journey itself.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I am an immigrant, as you indicated. My family immigrated to the United States when I was 16 years old, from Syria, and this was pre-recent war, at least. This is after the first war that happened back in the 80s. We had a civil war back then, so it was after that civil war. Moved here. My family lost pretty much almost everything. I mean, my dad brought some money with him to open up a retail shop with my brother, and that was the source of the family income for years. I didn't know English. I knew French and Arabic when I first moved here, and so I had to, on top of the teenage angst that is normally with 16-year-olds, I also had the issue of not knowing the language, not knowing where the heck I'm from, and my family not having any money. So so it was quite the curb. So it's. But, I eventually figured out how to get into college, because I didn't get into college right away after I finished high school, which magically, thank the Lord, I finished high school somehow or another. So, because I came here as a junior in high school, and I did finish, and graduate as a senior, but, I bled for it. Let's put it that way. So
Absolutely. John, I can't imagine like being at that season in life. I mean, you talk about just in your teenage years, like, I mean, everything is new and different and urgent and important, right? Like everything is just top priority when you are a teenager, but then having the added challenge of like new environment, language barrier, building your community, like friendships, things of that nature. And you're on basically the tail end of your high school career. And so that is a huge accomplishment, right? I think there are so many things, if you were going to say the odds were stacked against you, that could have not played in your favor, but you found a way to really push through on that piece.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. When I do public speaking and coaching stuff, I always, I always, excuse my French, I always say F the odds, because that's my MO in a lot of the speeches I give out, because I honestly, that's what I did. I mean, I said I knew the odds, and even back then I didn't really I was too young to calculate odds, but I knew I didn't have good ones. That's for sure.
Yeah. You're like, I
But
don't know what's off, but something doesn't feel right.
I know. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Wait a
Yeah.
minute, I'm supposed to have something extra here. What is that? What is it? The
What is
language,
this?
money, guidance. I'm missing all three
Yeah.
here. So I don't know what else, we
Yes.
could do here.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
but
Well, and
yeah,
I think that's definitely our stories run parallel to that. And, for the listeners that have not had an opportunity to connect with someone that has immigrated to the country, I too immigrated to this country at a very young age. And I mean, even and I spoke English and with an accent, but English as my first language. But you think about like the societal norms and cultural differences and just getting acclimated from that standpoint, in addition to understanding like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? And not really
yeah.
having those built-in mentors or the guidance, as you mentioned, to tell you, here's the next step that you need to go or that you need to take.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's very, very important to have those. I mean, those early mentors or early guidance were just people that I happened to come across in life, and I'm so thankful for them because they made a difference. I had a friend that made a difference into recommending me after I finished high school, and I was working for a few months to apply for this small community college nearby. He said, "Look,
Yeah.
listen, man." He's like, "If they'll take you, I think they'll take anybody. They should be able to take you." So
Just apply. Yes.
just
Great.
apply. And I was like, how much is it? Is it under $200? Because that's my budget. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. So you found a way to go on to get higher education, and
I did.
yeah. So
I
tell us a
went to
little bit about that journey, John.
I went to a community college here nearby near Charlotte. Called Gaston College, and I'm very thankful for them. And in fact, life is weird. It's a kind of a weird circuitous journey. I am now the president of their board of directors for the endowment. So
Congratulations. That's
that. So
huge. Yes.
I've been on the board for a few years. I just recently became president. It's just and that is the one volunteer position that is very close to my heart, that is just impactful to me in my own journey. And I'm thankful for what they've done for me, many decades ago, and I'm trying to repay the favor back.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from there, I found my way into a 4-year university, into University of North Carolina, Charlotte, which I'm also involved with right now. And I'm actually getting ready to be on their board as well. And then from there, I worked, I got out of college and I worked odd jobs for a while. I landed at a defense contractor, at one point, and then I got let go of that because they got bought out. And I ended up going back to Boston, where half of my family is there. My mom and sisters are there, and I ended up going to Boston. Ended up finding my way into grad school and got my MBA and got into finance and investments, and kind of life moved on at a faster pace after that.
Absolutely. And so this was your introduction to the finance industry, because this is where we're looking at the investment piece for sure, is something that you've grown over the last couple of years. So that's huge just in that journey itself. And it sounds as if you've taken those life experiences and just turned them into opportunities where they could have been roadblocks or challenges, making sure that they became opportunities for you and finding your way through them on the other side.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I had definitely some great guidance along the way from various people. I don't necessarily say I want to have only one mentor. I have several mentors, and a lot of people should have several mentors, because one mentor may not be the right stage for you. From stage A to stage B, you might need a certain mentor, and from stage B to C, you might need a different mentor. So life changes, and we have to change with it, and hopefully our guidance and mentorship changes with it as well. Some of my early mentors included, professors or college teachers or friends. My oldest brother have always been a personal mentor of mine, and still is to some extent. He's almost 11 years older than I am. So he's always been sort of the older, wiser brother for me.
Yeah.
I had ex-bosses that were mentors. I had a professional mentor at one point, a coach. So, we all have to sharpen up the toolbox one way or another, and we need some guidance, along the way. And life is not lived through a singularity. Life is built and shared, and experienced through a group and a culture and a hopefully a team and a cohort that you surround yourself with, and that's what makes life worth living for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things that I often talk about on the show is our ability to lead ourselves, right? It's not just always leading others, but the ability to lead ourselves. And John, I see within you that there had to have been something taking you from this space of, 16 years old, financial resources are not as available as one would think or would need or could really support you. You have the language barrier, you have the environmental change, you have the community that shift and change that you're in, and then you finding your way to get acclimated, and not only acclimated, but what I would say is thriving, like getting into graduate school and working on your master's and getting into the finance industry. What did you do for yourself to really bring yourself through all of these seasons and scenarios of life that you just mentioned to us?
I mean, it's the same as asking somebody like, I'm not going to compare myself, but it's asking someone like a soldier, what did they all do to get out
Mm,
of a certain situation or certain battle? You don't think about it. You
no.
just do it. It's just got to
Yeah.
be done. Like this is the thing that has to be done. I guess maybe I was raised with the mentality that there is no stopping point. You can't afford to just lay around on your back and pretend, and expect things to happen for you and to you.
Right.
Screw that. That's why I always say F the odds, because I'm not waiting. I don't want to wait on things to happen to me. I want to go out and make them happen. And the only
Yeah.
way to make them happen is if you take the initiative and actually carry on your life on your own. I mean,
Right.
no one is coming. No one is coming.
Yes.
So,
Right.
no one is coming. So you gotta be able to patch the boat and keep sailing and do it on your own, because no one is coming. I mean, basically
Yeah.
that's what I grew up with. That's the mentality I've always had. That's the mentality I still have.
Yeah.
And the more we realize that, no matter how much help we get along the way, it's always going to be up to us to execute day to day, to motivate ourselves, to show up, to wake up, get out of bed, put one foot in front of the other, and just keep going.
Right.
Regardless of what you get hit with, regardless what kind of failures, regardless what kind of hardships you got, we all have them. I've had plenty of them. I'm still having some of them. So, life is, that's just life. We're relegated to the human condition that includes, some suffering, unfortunately, not all,
Yeah.
but some suffering, and a lot of happiness, hopefully, and a lot of adjustments. And, but that's just part of the journey, and that's what makes, the sweeter moments sweeter.
Exactly. Absolutely. I love that piece where it's just like, you know what? Life is going to happen alongside this quote unquote leadership journey, wherever you may be in your leadership journey. And I think that's an important piece because we focus so much on qualities and attributes and skill sets for leaders here. And most of the guests will share, life is also happening parallel and in tandem to this journey that we're taking and that we're going through. And so recognizing that when you have yourself truly anchored in this belief system, for you, it was like, you know what? F the odds, right? Or like, right? Like it's like, and it's, think life is going to happen. And no one is coming to save you from this. It's your opportunity to take what you've learned and gathered over the years to project and propel yourself forward and continue moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's gonna be some moments where you have to pause and also take a self-assessment at some point, which I had
Yes.
to do a lot in my life. Because you could be a leader, but you can be an amazing leader if you have a lot more self-awareness, and you can
Hmm.
be an amazing leader if you have a lot more self-reflection and
Hmm.
perspective, which is golden. And I think that's what sometimes is missing from, you know, okay or good leaders to excellent and amazing leaders. Excellent
Yes.
and amazing leaders don't necessarily just lead and make people follow them. They have people wanting to follow them because they
Exactly.
inspire and empower others. And that's the
Yes.
difference between an okay leader and an amazing leader.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I actually just had this conversation with someone a few days ago that they were just talking about the leadership of this organization. And there was one director level leader within the organization that had a reputation of being toxic. And when you talk about this introspective, like the self reflection, like we have to understand what we're bringing to the table, the good, bad, and the different. This individual was known for being for creating like a micromanaged environment with a tremendous amount of turnover, and everyone in the organization knew about it, but still this person has maintained that role for decades, right? And we're seeing like lost talent that's going out the door because of this toxic environment culture that's created. If you're able to do that as a leader, when you talk about the assessment that you do of self and the reflection that you do, you can't just have the awareness. I think the other piece, John, that goes with it is taking the action, right? Like recognizing who you are, how you show up as a leader, and then making sure that you're taking the action that's going to best serve the organization, the company, and the people around you.
Absolutely, 100%,
Yeah.
absolutely, and listen, I mean, not everybody is going to be naturally self-aware. That's just not necessarily. You know,
We could wish, we could hope.
we could wish, but nobody, not a lot of people are, including me. By the way, I wasn't naturally
Agreed.
self-aware about everything in my
Agreed.
life. I had to take some
Yes.
self-reflection. I had to go to therapy. I had to like do a lot of those, get somebody else to kind of in my circle to because I mean, listen, we can't see how beautiful or ugly we are. That's just, unless, and the mirror is not going to even tell us anything, because we're going to see in the mirror what we want to see in our own mind. So the mirror is not going to tell us anything,
Yeah.
so sometimes we need other people to tell us how they view us in order for us to get a hint that, oh, hey, maybe I am an a-hole. Like I might need to change things about myself. Why am I doing
everyone
this?
loved that about me. I guess not.
Not everybody loves that about me. Yeah, I might think I'm the funniest dude around, but not a lot of people think I am.
I love it. John, I think that the thing that you really said that resonated was like that sometimes we need to have other people as well to kind of show us the good and the ugly. And I always said it as the blind spots, but now that you say it as the good and the ugly, I kind of like it that way, right? Like we can't see our own blind spots. We also can't see the greatest amount of beauty or the ugly spots that
100%.
we often try to avoid.
No, 100%, 100%. And listen, sometimes it takes some hardships, and in fact, most of the times it takes hardships. And that's another thing I speak about a lot is the how to handle a life of imbalance and failure and make those work for you, not against you. I speak a lot about the concept of imbalance. I am a contrarian in the fact that I say that if you want to have something, if you want to pursue something to an extraordinary end, you have got to be imbalanced into your life, not balanced. There's no such thing as balance in life when you're trying to pursue something so doggedly, and especially if it's a big pursuit, it's a big target. And I'm not saying you screw up your entire life and live an entire imbalanced life entirely. I'm saying you have to go through seasons of imbalance. And you recognize when those seasons are and be prepared, and prepare maybe the people around you, including family, friends, wife, children, others, husband, whatever, that, listen, if I want to be the executive director of this, of my department, it's going to take me working 12 hours a day or whatever for the next year. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just put my head down and get that done for this coming year, and have to hopefully get buy-in from somebody. Like, I may not be home for dinners. I may not be home for kids' soccer practice, whatever. But you got to find some balance where you have to at some point also disconnect and give those around you who matter most to you, your time and effort and energy. And when you do disconnect, disconnect completely. Don't just half-ass disconnect, because they deserve better than that from you, for you to disconnect completely, and then go back and just be completely in balance. So the whole concept of let's leave a, work-life balance, that's fine if you're going to be okay. Mediocrity. If you want to be beyond that, if you want to do something extraordinary, there's no such thing as balance in life.
Yeah. I would have to agree wholeheartedly. I think this concept and idea of work-life balance, it's really, first and foremost, the scale is not fair to begin with, because you're extracting work as one area of the pie that you're pulling from every other area of your pie, right? When you talk about life, it's like it's work compared to everything else. And there's 7 other key areas, if not more, depending on how you look at your key areas of life. And when you talk about like just knowing that you're going to have these seasons where it's not balanced, it may be in harmony, because you've got that intentionality, right? Like, I need to spend the next 12 months working on this, my path to this role. Or what you bring up that I went through a few years ago, when I ran my first and only half marathon. I am no desire to run another one. But during that season, in training for that half marathon, the amount of time that I spent running was going to pull away from other areas of my life, right? And so I spent 3 months truly training for this half marathon. I want to be completely transparent, and fully training for this half marathon. And then at the end of the 3 months, I looked up and I realized, oh, my friends have not seen me, right? So that area of my life was lacking, but it was intentional because I had this laser focus on completing this task, this objective. And so
That's
giving
right.
yourself permission to really have that flexibility and know that your seasons of life will look different depending on what you're focused on. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And did you
Yeah.
finish it? Did you finish the half marathon?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, there you go.
John,
There you go.
I'm doing it. I checked the box and I'm done. I've got the medal hanging up. I'm not interested
There
in
you
doing
go.
it yet.
There you go. There you go. And that's exactly what I talk about. I talk about seasons of imbalance. And
Yes.
because no, we can't do it for forever. And I'm not asking people to be imbalanced in their entire life. But you have to recognize when you're going through these seasons. It's just like I spoke to somebody yesterday actually about that. And I said, look, it's the same concept as time blocking. If you know how
Yes.
time blocking works,
Yes.
you have to time block. You can't say I'm going to time block my entire day. That's not realistic. You're not going to time block it. You can't even say I'm going to time block the next 5 hours, because that's not effective time blocking either. Time blocking only works when it's done in small increments, whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 45 minutes. That's the best, at least from in my experience. That's how I found time blocking to work the best is small increments. Same thing with imbalance. All I'm saying is pick a season of imbalance and you do that and you do it wholeheartedly and you go in all in. And then you step out for a minute and it's done. It's a period of imbalance, just like a time block, where you're dedicated so doggedly to that pursuit that you're after that everything else doesn't matter.
100%. I love that. I love that. Well, John, I would love to bring us back to your personal experience and your leadership journey as well, because we've gone through and hearing kind of your background, you've now positioned yourself in a space where you're a speaker and a coach, and you've built a multi-billion with a B dollar business in the financial industry space. Talk to us a little bit about that journey, and just the kind of the opportunities that have popped up for you within those spaces.
Yeah. I mean, my journey. I think entrepreneurship has been with me from day one. My dad was somewhat of an entrepreneur, and he kind of, he valued education and business leadership. That's what he valued the most. And he's always told me that as long as you have the right education and the right experience and the right spirit, you can do anything. So nobody can take those away from you. So. I had my first company when I think I launched my first startup when I was, I don't know, right after college, 23, 24. And it was it was not a good startup. We had a concept, me and a college friend of mine, a fraternity buddy of mine had a concept about a consulting platform that we wanted to do that is offered for everybody else, or, would let people kind of buy into it. Anyway, it didn't work. We pursued it for a while. It didn't work. My second company I launched, I was already in the financial industry already. I had done I was doing equity trading and wealth management with Morgan Stanley and Royal Bank of Canada Capital Markets Group. And we launched our first investment banking structured finance shop when I was in Boston with 2 other partners. And we operated that until 2009. And 2008, 2009, we got our our butts handed to us with the
Yeah.
recession, lost
Yeah.
everything, lost all our clients, lost our prospects, and we all had to go back and get day jobs and kind of lick our wounds for a few years. So, in 2013, my brother was already started a acquisition business for apartment complexes in the Charlotte area. So, ask if I wanted to kind of join and launch a new brand and kind of expand it and see if we can kind of take it into more institutional levels. So so I did. That's what we did. We formed a new company and I moved to North Carolina from Boston at the time, a couple of years later, and ran that company until about 2021. We had a pretty sizable portfolio at the time of assets. We still have a lot of them. And then in 2021, I launched my next company, my current company, Peak 15 Capital, as a private equity platform. And we ended up launching a fund, and we're now at the tail end of that fund, trying to close that out by the end of this year and launch our next fund, hopefully next year. And that's how sort of I got into that space and that kind of vertical of commercial real estate and private equity, just because I've always been exposed to it from, just from my journey into finance and investments. And it just ended up being I don't know. Sometimes we don't pick the roads that we take. Sometimes the roads that we take show themselves in front of us, and we just have to take them. We can't dilly dally and think that oh well, let me see if another road comes up. Like you can't do that. You got to go with what's in front of you, and hopefully make something great out of it. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's sort of the journey, the Cliff Notes version of the
Absolutely.
entrepreneur
Well, I
journey.
mean, as you talk about that, like the opportunities that come before you, it goes back to what you mentioned that your dad said, right? Like it's the education and your expertise and your energy. Like what is the excitement, or do you have the excitement and the passion behind it to continue to pursue it? Because these opportunities could have presented themselves. And if we go back to 2008, 2009, like when you get the rug pulled out from underneath you, like you have to have some type of internal drive to pick yourself back up and say, okay, I've got to pivot, or I'm going to change, or we're going to reinvent, or what have you. So there's that internal drive that you have to really dig deep to pull out to figure out, okay, where am I going next?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, entrepreneurs, most of them, you need to have a little bit of crazy in you, because I mean, if you don't,
Yep. Yes. Yes.
you
I think
gotta have a
I
little.
had a friend that shared recently on social media. The post was something similar to like entrepreneurs are the people that were told when we were younger that we won't be able to do something, and so now here we all are as entrepreneurs, like we're doing it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So,
Oh
but,
wow.
and,
Yeah.
and especially nowadays, I mean, gosh, with the advent of AI and all the technological tools that we have and
Yeah.
everything else, like being an entrepreneur is, I would think, is easier than ever. However, there's a distinct difference between just hanging up a shingle and trying to figure your way out and actually making something worthwhile, generational, and that could that's something that you can grow at a decent scale. And that takes a lot of work. Launching something is the easiest part. The hard work comes after you launch that something.
Sustaining it, 100%.
Sustaining it
and not even
growing
growing it. It's just simply sustaining it, right? It's just
simply
keeping
sustaining it. Correct. Sometimes simply
Yes.
sustaining it is that. But to some people, even the launch is the hardest work, which is I respect that. And that's what I work with a lot of people on, is that how do I get to that point? How do I get to the point where I recognize that I am capable, I have it in me, I do have the knowledge, I do have the means, I do have the tenacity to actually be an entrepreneur and launch something that is, or not, or maybe I have the tenacity and the drive and the knowledge and the skills to drive this particular part of my department in my company, in my corporation, to
Yes.
amazing heights, and I can grow. I want to grow this way. Totally fine. There's no sense of either. There's no right or wrong in either one of those situations. What I try to work with people on is how to make the best of yourself and be able to show up as a leader, even in your own department, or even in your own house, or even in your own company, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like locking in where you're at, right? Like it's not a matter of like having to jump ship or finding something else to do. It's just lock in where you're at and then take it to the next level from there.
Yeah.
John, I'd love
Yeah.
for you to speak to our entrepreneurs out there. If they're individuals that have identified that they've got that little sparkle of crazy that they want to bring into this entrepreneurship journey, or people that are already they've started their entrepreneurial journey and they're wanting to level up, because I feel like coming in as a new entrepreneur or leveling up as an entrepreneur is pretty much the same launch pad. What advice would you have for those individuals?
I mean, listen, find out first and foremost, you got to know why you're doing this and what is the end results. A lot of times when I work with folks, when I do coaching or when I do whatever, I start out with asking them, what do you want out of you? How do you see yourself in, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever timeline we end up picking. And I don't mean it in the HR cheesy version of tell me how do you, give me your 5-year plan. That's not how I do it.
Right.
What I'm
Yes.
asking of them is think of yourself in 5 years or 3 years, whatever the timeline is, pick a timeline,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be in the future at some point. And
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think how you're feeling. Ideally, this is an ideal situation. How are you
Mm-hmm.
feeling at that moment? What are you doing? What is your day like? What do you get up and do every day? What do how do you approach your morning? How do you approach your afternoon? What kind of calls are you answering? Who are you speaking to? Who's in your circle in 3 years or 5 years from now? Who are your friends? Who are your business contacts? Where are you trying to make a difference? If somebody was to read something about you in business, what would you like them to read in 3 to 5 years? So
Mm.
we start with that, and I say, okay, so now think about all these things that you just told me about, how you think of yourself, what are you feeling, how are you getting up, what are you spending your day on, who is in your orb, who is your team, what do you think of all these things, and now let's think backward and reverse engineer it. What do you need to do now to get to that person, that version of yourself in 3 to 5 years? Because there's a lot of things that you can do now that you can start showing up now, how you envision yourself showing up in 3 to 5 years. You don't have to wait 3 to 5 years to show up as you just described it to me. You can start that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that when you're looking at kind of this again, the non-HR 1, 3, 5 years, whatever the time frame may be, 10 years, 7, whatever you plug the number in. It's who is the person that's showing up, not focusing on what is it that you want to have. Like that's what I love that you mentioned, John. It's like who are you? Who's your community made of? Like who's in your Rolodex? Who are you, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What does it look like, taste like, feel like? I think getting into that space to actually envision what that life looks like and feels like and tastes like and smells like is key for us to pay more attention to than sometimes the arbitrary goal that we set, right? Like in 5 years, I'd like to make X number of dollars, or I want to grow this size business, or I want to have, this position within the company. Instead of focusing on that, who are you? Like truly, who are
That's
you?
right. That's exactly
In that
right. That's
space.
exactly what I try to get the answers for.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I tell them right away, I said, I'm not interested in numbers and figures. I'm not interested in what you're making 3 to 5 years from now. I don't
Yeah.
care about what you're making in 3 to 5 years. Don't tell me about that. Don't even tell me how successful your business are. That's
Uh-huh.
also not something I care about.
Uh-huh.
What I care
Uh-huh.
about is you. How are you handling things? What are you showing up at? How are you showing up? What are you feeling inside? Who's your network? Who are your friends? What's driving you? What's motivating you? What's making you happy every day when you get up? That's what I'm interested in. Not
Yeah.
not the other not the HR stuff,
Not the yes.
not your production, not how much you're
No.
selling, not what your company's doing, like you. And that's
Yeah.
why it takes a lot of introspective to be able to do that. And a lot of times, a lot of folks I work with, I'm like the things they list are Natalie, almost always are things they can start today, because a lot of the things they list have nothing to do with how much money you have nothing to
Yes.
do with, how big of a company you have started or what your startup is doing. A lot of them have to do with, like, some people are like, I'd like to have a great network of investors. Okay, great. You can do that now. You can do that today. You can start developing that today, right now.
Yes.
or I'd love to have a great network of, entrepreneurs or whatever that I can call on a regular basis. I want my friends to be like leaders and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, that's also something you can do right now. There's no reason for you to wait 3 to 5. You don't need to become some master of the universe in order for you to feel empowered to reach out to these people and grow that kind of network. You can do it right now, even if you don't have anything, because guess what? People who are in those positions like the most, a lot of them, I know I do, but a lot of them don't mind sharing the knowledge, don't mind mentoring, don't mind taking people under their wing, don't mind, having someone that is very interested in the business for them to tell them and kind of shadow them or whatever. Like, a lot of people are not going to, you'd be surprised how amenable people are to giving you guidance or stepping in or giving you coaching or giving a little bit of their time to you. You just have to ask and show up.
Yeah. You have to have that desire, right? Like, really tapping into the desire and knowing that you can actually take action today, I think, is a key piece for a lot of individuals, because entrepreneurs, we often get, I'm making this a we statement because I've found myself in this spot, myself included, is that we want the situation to be completely aligned and perfect, and then we'll take the step, or we'll make the phone call, or we'll do the outreach, or what have you. And we don't need to do that. All the stars do not lead to align and the business be completely perfect and wrapped up with a bow. Because here's the reality. It's never, ever going to be to that. If you get, the moment you get to that point is the moment that you're going to take the business to the next level. So that's all out the window anyway.
That's right. That's right.
So just taking the action today.
That's right. And it's okay to stop and celebrate those moments where you get a bow. It's okay to enjoy the bow. Enjoy the bow.
Yes.
Enjoy it. Take out that bow, enjoy that moment, but know that there's going to be more work to do. You're not just done, after one bow. So
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an ever evolving process is what I will say.
Absolutely. Well, John, you mentioned that you all are wrapping up funding for the investment
current fund. Yeah. Our current fund.
The current fund.
Private equity fund.
And then you're going to potentially launch another next year.
Correct.
This is what I like to call kind of that gap in between seasons. Talk to us a little bit about this season for our business owners and entrepreneurs out there, because the closure of one thing and also the introduction and creation of something new puts us in this gap between the two. What do you do to keep yourself motivated and inspired to, one, wrap up and have the energy to pour into something new?
Yeah, I mean, it's that sort of that, what I call liminal space. Liminal space is those spaces in between. So, where you're not quite ready to kind of get into something else, but you're finishing up something else also, but you're also not there either. You're also not in that stage.
Yes.
I mean, what I can tell you is the best thing, and that's what we're doing right now, is boning up on skills that matter the most for us. Maybe going back to the basic about a couple of things. Right now we're thinking about doing some deals outside of our, we could possibly look at some deals outside of our fund with, another, company or something like that, or maybe wrapping up some current deals in the fund as well. But also in the planning stage where you're like, okay, so what is the next one could look like? Or, doing something else entirely that maybe give you a little bit of respite in between. For me, I'm doing a lot more, I'm concentrating on doing more public speaking, a little bit more coaching, because I love it and I enjoy it, and it actually empowers me when I speak and coach people. I get more out of it. I mean, they probably, my students get out of it, to be honest with you. I get more out of coaching than my students get out of coaching. So you could do that. But you also have to do always, I mean, this is a great place when you're transitioning from one to another, whether it's one project to another project, one company to another company, whatever it might be. It's also a good place to stop, take stock, and do an after action review on what went right, what went wrong. How can we improve that process better? What did we screw up? and be honest with that. What did we screw up the most, and how can we avoid those screw ups, and hopefully in the future? Not that you will always avoid any screw ups, because life is full of screw ups. That's what life is built of.
That's what it's about. Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
That's what it's about. You know, it's you got to be okay with failure, and that's the other thing I that is a huge topic that I talk about, is failure, and the fact that failure is something not only you should avoid, you should actually be thankful when it happens to you, because it's the best learning opportunity ever.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying go out and seek failure. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
You know, nobody wants to go out and seek failure, but when it does happen,
don't be afraid of it. Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it, and don't look at it like it's some kind of a sign of weakness. Don't look at it as like some kind of a you know, a scarlet letter that you have to carry around with you. It's failure is the best teacher. The best teacher. So the more you fail, the more you're learning. And you know, so it doesn't matter how much you fail. It's your mentality and what you end up doing with those failures that matter the most. And that's what's going to propel you to kind of keep moving forward. So for me, I always like to go back and take stock of what I screwed up, how can I make it better? And what can we do better the next time? How can we think outside the box on the next move we make, the next fund we take, the next company that we launch, the next initiative or next department that we try to form? What is that going to look like? So it's always a good time to do that in between those times.
I love that. I think that's a key piece, especially with the time that you're taking to do the assessment on what worked well, what didn't work, where did we screw up, and how could we do it better? Because there are always skills and knowledge that come out of what we've already done, and taking the time to do the reflection on that we're going to carry with us into whatever it is that we work on next. It doesn't matter if you're changing industries, changing directions completely. The skill set and expertise that you just gained from whatever you were working on previously, there are many things that are going to transfer over, right? Those transferable skills that we talk about. So giving yourself that time to reflect on, what did I like? What worked well? What didn't work? What did we screw up? How did we drop the ball? Are there ways that we can make sure that we don't drop the ball like that in the future? And then looking at, okay, now what are we creating? What is that going to look like? And
that's right.
John, what you shared that I think is most exciting to entrepreneurs, so we don't want them to get caught in that, is that you have given yourself a space of, I have options, right? Like it could look like this, it could look like that, but we don't need to chase them all. We're going to just look at what are the options? What does this next season of life look like for me? And then what aligns best with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I can't stress enough is talk to other people of your ilk. Like talk to your cohorts, talk to your colleagues, talk to your people that are the same ilk as you, the same status of you, or they're going through something very similar, because that will give you perspective on how good or bad or not that you're doing. And because talking to everybody, because listen, especially nowadays, I mean, right now in this environment, we're going through some really tough economic times, just all around. The financial industry is certainly going through an adjustment. The private equity is going through an adjustment. Commercial real estate is going through an adjustment. So it's tough out there. It's really tough out there. But these are also the times that you can make a very huge impact. You can find amazing deals, and that's what we're doing. We're in this downtime. We're starting to come across deals that are just amazing, because precisely it's downtime, not despite the downtime, because it's downtime. And that's what presents sometimes the biggest opportunities. So you just have to be ready and be able to have that network that supports you, that you can go after these kind of opportunities. So so there's always an opportunity in chaos. You just have to find it, and you just have to make yourself centered enough to recognize the opportunities through that chaos.
Love that. I love that. That's amazing. John, you mentioned that you truly enjoy coaching other people. Share with us your ideal client. If we have a listener out there that would love to connect with you, to work with you, who's your ideal client? Who do you enjoy coaching, and what are they working on?
Oh my gosh! I mean, listen. I'm first and foremost, I'm a people person. If you can't tell that already, but I'm a huge extrovert, a huge people person. I love working with all kinds of people. In fact, the more diverse my audience is, the better. Because again, selfishly, I enjoy it, because I even enjoy. I know enough to be dangerous about a lot of different industries, but
Got it. Yep.
Because being in private equity, and I've had a stint in venture capital and tech, so I know enough, especially when you're in the finance and investment realm, you get to know a little bit about a lot of things. Even though you're master of none of them, but you know a little bit about a lot of things. So
just enough to get through them all. Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's right. But hey, you can act like a boss, and people will think that you're the master of all of them. But so it's just a matter of how it is.
That is true. I think, what is this? Someone told me once, it's you just say it with confidence, and people will just opt in and just believe that it's fact. And so
yeah, exactly. So, but to more directly answer your question, to be honest with you, my only criteria of people that I work with or I coach or whatever, they have to be open to self-discovery themselves.
Yeah.
Not open to criticism. I take that. It's open to self-discovery. Self-discovery will include self-criticism sometimes, but that's not always the case. So I always say you got to be open for self-discovery. Because and it's a weird question. I know a lot of people are like, "What do you mean? Am I open to self-discovery?" Like, what does that mean? It means that you are open to finding out parts about yourself that you don't like. That's what that means.
Yeah.
And hearing it without being offended, and hopefully hearing it with the intent to do something about it. Right. That's what it means. So if you're open to that, then you're an ideal student. An ideal somebody who I can mentor or coach or work with. Because if you don't have that capacity to be able to take stock of yourself and let others or yourself even find out what is the shortcoming, where am I short, what do I need to make up, what do I need to work on, if you don't have that capacity, then you're wasting your time in any coaching, not just with me. You're wasting your time getting coaching, you're wasting your time getting therapy, you're wasting your time in any kind of progressive help that on yourself, because because you're closed off. You're not going to be able to listen to anything else that anybody else is going to tell you.
Yeah. And if you've not had someone in your life that has been able to be that candid with you, to share that type of feedback with you, I would highly encourage you all to do so. Have a person, if it's a coach, if it's a mentor, if it's a direct supervisor, giving them permission to truly hold that mirror up for you. And then John touched on the biggest piece of that is that not only do you need to know it, you've got to be prepared to address it, right? Like, are you going to build it, strengthen it, change it, get rid of it, whatever it needs to happen, that needs to happen with whatever that is. You have to be prepared to step into that space where you will, again, I think that's the theme of our discussion today, is take the action, right? Like, you've got to be able to take action on it, not just know, okay, well, here are some of my faults. Good to know, close that book and let's move on to something else. We can't put shit to the side.
Yeah, that's just a waste of money. You just wasted your money. You just wasted, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, a year of coaching with me if you do that. Like, why would you do that? That's if somebody showed you, here's how you drive this car, and you just like, okay, great, that's great. Let me just put it in the garage. I'm never going to drive it. Like,
I'm never gonna drive it.
Why would you not drive this beautiful car that you already have and let it sit in your garage? So,
I think that's a best analogy for it. Exactly.
Yeah.
You just it's fabulous. It's amazing. And then you park it.
Yeah, exactly. And shut it, and more than that, shut it off in some garage and not even take a look at it. So
yeah, exactly.
So that's really what it is. And so if you have that capacity, then you're somebody I'd love to work with. Listen, I'm not a sugarcoater. If you want someone who's gonna get on a coaching call or get on a mentorship call with you and be able to, shoot smoke up your butt all day long and tell you how the best slice of bread that you are, that's not me. That's not me. I'm here to be brutally honest. I'm not trying to be mean, but I will be upfront and honest about everything I see and everything I hear from you. And you got to be able to take that and work with me on it. I am a very nice guy. I'm not saying I'm not a nice guy, but I'm very practical. I'm very pragmatic. I try to present things non-sugar-coated as I can, because I believe that does the most service to my students and to people I work with, and even people I work with in my company. I mean, I don't want people to sugarcoat things for me, So, I want the straight up version, and that's a lot of times I joke with my partner. Sometimes, like when he tells me about something that's going on, I'm like, God, is that the sugar-coated version? Is it too late to get that right now?
I'm here when you're ready to tell me what you really think. Thank you. That's yeah. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell me what you're really thinking.
Exactly.
That is awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I think that's an important piece. And again, if you are listening and you are contemplating working with John and you're just wanting somebody to hold your hand and tell you how amazing you are, I'm going to say that's probably not the right person that you need to reach out to. But if you do want someone that's going to be candid, that really holds that mirror up to you so that you can pull out the best version of yourself to see the success that you want to have in your business, then John's the person that's going to do that.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
well, I'm going to rephrase that even slightly, Natalie, if you don't mind.
Sure,
Not
please.
just success in your business, the success in yourself.
Self.
That's in yourself. I'm going to work with you to have success in yourself, not just the business will come. The success in the business will come if you work on the success in yourself.
Love that. I love that. John, each of our episodes that has a guest, I leave us with one question, and I'm going to pose this one question to you. 5 years, 10 years, 100 years from now, how do you want to be remembered as a leader?
It's a great question. I'd like to be remembered as someone who is a guidance, who is a guide, who is a mentor, who is a friend, who is a parent, who is who is hopefully a leader who leads with inspiration, not perspiration. So it's
yes.
I don't want to lead people with a stick. I want to lead them with their own self of confidence and their own own sense of self. And that's what I mean by inspiration. I don't want to lead them by threatening them. That's never going to work. That never works. If you have to threaten somebody that you're working with, you've already lost the battle.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like that should be one of those posters that goes on the wall, right? Leading from inspiration, not perspiration, because that's true. I mean, that exists in many office settings and companies and organizations, but we're not here to judge. We're just here to let you know you can lead through inspiration.
No judging at all. No judging at all. I bring, not at all. I honestly bring no judgment. I only tell you what I think, and that sometimes might sound like judgment, but it really isn't any judgment. It's just a perspective, and it's just my perspective. You may not like it. That's and that's totally fine. Yeah. There are plenty of other perspectives out there, but that's my perspective, and if that's a value, then that's great. Hopefully we can see eye to eye.
Exactly. I love it. John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the show today. This has been such a delight. We will make sure that we put your contact information in the show notes as well. So if any of our listeners want to reach out, get in touch with you, connect with you, they will have the opportunity to do so. But thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, and your insight as it pertains to leadership. And more importantly, thank you for sharing your personal story and journey with our listeners today.
Of course. It's been a pleasure, Natalie. Thanks so much for having me, and I hope that somebody's getting something out of it. So I appreciate
that's it. That's our focus here: impact, influence, and growth. And I think that we've given them some nuggets and gems to definitely apply. I mean, if you all did not jot something down to apply or at least reflect on after this episode, just rewind it, play it back, and listen to it again, because there are a ton of gems in there for you to really extract and apply to your life. John, thank you.
Of course.
If you all have not, absolutely. If you've not subscribed to our weekly newsletter, make sure that you go on over to LinkedIn and search the Flamingo Files, because we're going to have an upcoming edition of the newsletter that will dive deeper into this episode that you just listened to with John and I. And we are releasing those newsletters on a weekly basis. And if you have not subscribed and liked this podcast on your favorite streaming platform, I'm going to invite you to do so as well. And if you found value in it and felt the need to share it with a friend, please feel free to share it and pass it on. Until next time, we will see you all soon.
Thank you for spending time growing with me on the Leadership That Shines podcast. Every episode is built around the values of impact, influence, and growth, and I want all three of those to show up in how you lead starting this week. If this episode added value to your week, share it with a leader in your world who is ready to grow. Subscribe and follow so that you never miss a week, and I'll see you in the next episode.